Near alcohol.
Near alcohol, like near on Arnhem land. Say it again, I want to try and say it.
Yaur Jagaria.
Italia.
Yaur World.
So I'm just going to try and learn a language now. Yaure.
Yaur World.
Yaure.
Start with a double R.
Starts with it. Yaure.
Yaur World.
Yaure. Very difficult on the tongue. Where's the pronunciation? Yaure.
Yaur World. Starts with a Y.
That's with a Y. So is that is your first or second language English? The second language English?
Sure.
Yeah. How many languages do you speak?
5.
5 languages. 5
But I
languages.
speak my own language.
Yeah. It's 5 languages.
We understand each other.
Is that different dialects or is it different languages?
It's a different dialect.
Yeah. 4,000 languages are spoken in Queensland.
4,000
Languages are spoken in Queensland. By the Aboriginal people. 4,000 in Queensland. I don't know about Northern I've not lived here enough to know this. I know Queensland stuff, not Northern Territory stuff.
It's more.
All these people. Look, Larrakia is so small, really, compared to Wallapiri people. Just all these different. And what the English did is just go divided. The Larrakia are the name of the Aboriginal people in this area. They're called the Larrakia Nation. Every area in Australia has a different name of land and a different person. So the Larrakia people are around Darwin area. If you go to Queensland near Byron Bay, they're the Bundjalung Nation. So it's just like Europeans have French, but then in France or in England they have small towns, and that's what they're called, the small towns. Yeah? Okay. So this is the Larrakia. The Aborigine people are nomadic. They do not have a nomadic life. They have clans and families, and they go away and then they come back. So they go walkabout in their area, but their area is so large that everybody thinks they're nomadic, but it's their land, small amounts of land, and then they come back. They don't go from one Aboriginal country to another, to another, to another. They stay around. So it's a myth that Aboriginal people are nomadic. In my opinion, with Australian society, it's very diverse. Modern day Anglo-Australian society has only been here for 200 years. This country is built on immigration. Anybody that has come over in the last 200 years. So it's a very, very new young country with very new protocol. With regards to the society itself, people do mix together, but there is, if you've lived in Australia, which I have, there is a definitely separatist. There's a separatist between cultures. You tend to get a lot of people sticking to their own cultures, their own countries. I think as we've gone on, there is more of a mixture, and you will see mixed race children, mixed race adults together, and marriages. But it's, in my opinion, I think with regards to the society, it's still got a lot of work to do. It's a fantastic society to live in with regards to making money, and there's lots of jobs because there's only about 23 million people living in a country that is bigger than Europe. And just to give you an example, Great Britain fits into Perth like this.
Yes.
And in England we have 83 million people living in England. So you get the feeling of a lot of space, and that's why I think Australia is a very laid-back country, but it certainly has a lot of issues to do with integration of culture and integration of people and religion and beliefs. I think this country is very, very multicultural because there was a huge influx of Greeks, Italians, Asians, English,
there's Irish. So it's very multicultural, but I think the problem is with this multicultural society, it's still very separatist.
Yes, it's not a multicultural
So
society.
it's multicultural because there's lots of cultures living in this country, but they're not integrating. They're not integrating as well as they should be. But having said that, again, they've only been integrated for 200 years, whereas in England it's been hundreds and hundreds of years for people to understand each other.
Can you speak about the Aboriginal people's situation in this country?
Yeah.
Especially in the North Territory?
Yeah. The Aboriginal situation it's quite a sad situation, and it's going to take a lot of work. The reason that you will not see many Aboriginal people in the south, say Sydney, Melbourne, all on the south coast, is because when Captain Cook came over, the majority Aboriginal people in the south were either killed through disease, European disease, or actually they were just massacred, and there was a huge genocide. So what the government did was just carve Australia into states, and the government gave the Aboriginal people the Northern Territory. Okay? What the government forgot is that Aboriginal have such intricate little countries in Australia that for an Aboriginal person maybe from the south of Queensland to move up to the Northern Territory, that's the equivalent of asking an Italian person to move to Scotland. Why would you do that? This is their home. As a product of Cook coming over and the social poverty, and the missionaries came over from England to change them into the white English way with Christianity. So because they have tried to change a culture, and their culture has had 60,000 years of a culture, a lot of Aboriginal people have suffered through not being able to live on their land. They've been kicked off their land. So there's a lot of social deprivation, alcoholism, and there's a lot of problems. What the missionaries tried to do was educate the Aboriginal people, which I agree with, the white way. The Aborigines tend to say it's the white fella way. It's important for the Aboriginal children to learn the black fella way and the white fella way, and it starts from the children. Northern Territory has got huge social problems because of the land, and also Northern Territory is kind of the last state to have any laws come through, so it's a bit of cowboy country.
Yeah?
Yeah, and in what I have seen in Australia, I would say the Northern Territory has the most social problems. What the government did by the Prime Minister Howard, who was a right-wing government, he made places called communities. So what he would say is the Aboriginal people live in these communities from the government, no alcohol, no pornography, so that you call that dry areas.
Like the zoo.
Yeah, but what Howard didn't realise is you're taking away a basic human right, and I feel that Aboriginal people have never been allowed to blossom as their culture. They've been held down, and they've never been allowed to express their beautiful Aboriginal culture. Therefore, all the problems have started, and basically the Aborigines feel misplaced and displaced in their own country because the English have taken over.
Do you think that in this country there is more racism or no?
I think Australia, in my opinion,
In front of the Aboriginal?
I think, yeah, in my opinion, I think Australia is one of the most racist countries in the world.
Oh.
And the reason I say that is because the English have come over in 200 years. I've seen, every day I see a little bit of racism on the bus or in town, and I've talked to many Aboriginal women in the Northern Territory, and they've told me some really horrendous stories about the racism they get from Australian, white Anglo-Australian people.
The Aboriginal people that sit in the back on the bus.
There's sometimes that I've thought when I've sat on the bus and the blacks are at the back, and the Aborigines are at the back, and the white people are at the front. And it's not because they're forced to be like this, like the apartheid in South Africa, where you're forced to be on separate buses. But I believe in this safety in numbers. So the Aborigines stick together, and the whites are at the front because they're scared of sitting at the back. So just something as simple as that in this society in Darwin, people are not integrating because there's a lot of judgment. So you'll hear a lot of generalized comments because people have not mixed and not broken bread together and not gone to people's houses. So there's a lot of judgment, bad judgment about the two races, I suppose.
The government, what say about this?
The government have tried to stop this problem by just throwing money at the Aboriginal people. They have spent millions and millions of dollars trying to fix a problem that they ruined 200 years ago. What the government have done also is they have given land back to certain Aboriginal elders. But obviously because a culture has been ripped apart, so what the government have done is given the land back, or they pay the Aborigines, the clans, money to use their land. So this is another social problem. If they're paying Aborigines money, and alcohol is a problem here, they have money for more alcohol.
The solution of the problem, I don't think is by money. The solution is a cultural solution, not the economic solution, I think.
Absolutely. There's plenty of jobs to go around. I think you're completely right. It's a cultural problem. And it's a problem that I think will be fixed, but it will take. Late 60s, the stolen generation. It was only 30 years ago. Aboriginal people can remember being taken away from the missions. And that stories have been passed down to their children. Country that people are still remembering the pain. Yes. And I think with a lot of Anglo-Australians, because they feel inadequate about what they have done, instead of talking about it, they disregard it. They don't want to talk about it because it's guilt and it's shame. So nobody seems to want to talk about these problems. I think I will just add one thing. I think the only way forward now, talking to Aboriginal people and white Australian people, is education. And the more schools we have that are mixed at a young age, the more integration with education, understanding the black fellow way and the white fellow way and bringing it together, I think that is the solution. If you look at England, even where I'm from in Manchester, it is so mixed and so diverse because England have had time to get used to these different races coming into the country. And I think Australia, the only way you can conquer it is by an understanding of both sides, and just education is the way forward, in my opinion.
Are you teacher also in Aboriginal school in the evening?
Yeah. I will be starting teaching with the Aborigine children in Camilda College. It's a boarding school, and basically the government pay for this, and a lot of them are from tiny remote communities down in the Northern Territory, and they come up and they board at this school, they live there, and then at the holidays they get sent back. So they don't really want to be at this boarding school, they want to be back at home. But because of what has happened, I agree that they need to be at this boarding school. But if Cook had never come in the first place, they wouldn't have to be learning the white fellow way. But that's been done now, and they need to. Because I've said this to Aboriginal kids before, knowledge is power. If they have the power, then they can beat the system. If they don't have the knowledge, they cannot beat the Australian government system. So they need this education and knowledge now. It's definitely an unheard and unknown culture in most parts of the world. And when you ask your average person about the Aboriginal culture, they'll either say they don't know or they'll say something quite derogatory because of that lack of knowledge. But it's one of the oldest cultures in the world. And I think if people understood and knew the culture, like in anything in life, you have more empathy and more empathy for these people. But because people don't understand, they don't know. Also, I'd like to just add as well that when Kevin Rudd, the Prime Minister of Australia, did the apology to the stolen generation, England was invited to come forward as well, because it's an English problem as well. Yes. And the English government declined and didn't want anything to do with it. And of course people in England don't know about this culture, so it does need to be spread about. And unfortunately, when you do get backpackers come to Australia, they're not really thinking about the Aboriginal culture, they're thinking about going out and seeing other things. So there's a lot of ignorance behind this wonderful, rich culture. This tree is called a paper. Listen, you might learn something, Kevin. A paper bark tree. Aborigine people, you just tear it off. Feel it. Aborigine people, they use it for writing on.
Yeah.
They use it for their beds to sleep on. And they use it for toilet paper.
Oh
my God. It's soft.
It's beautiful.
yeah.
Oh, it's so soft.
Paper bark tree. Aborigines use this, they also use it in smoking ceremonies to make it burn. It burns very well.
Yeah, it burns so fast.
So for 4 things they can use it. And maybe probably a lot more. 10 canoes.
They're culturally very strong, and what they're doing here is, you know, they're maintaining their culture.
It's the difference from the urban Aborigine.
Yeah.